and you're, balancing working with having two. How old are your kids?
10 months and 3 years.
10 months, 3 years. Oh, wow. So you have your hands full. You're busy and probably tired.
Tired, yeah. Research is hard. Having a family, also really hard. The career of a researcher can be really demanding, with long hours of running experiments, writing grants, teaching, and mentoring, among other things. What do these commitments mean for the other parts of someone's life? Today, we'll hear from a few different researchers, each in different stages of their careers and family lives. I'm Peggy Wong, and this is Personal Genomics, a podcast from CCG, the Center for Cancer Genomics at the National Cancer Institute. Today's stories aren't meant to offer solutions on how to run your career or personal life, and it's certainly not a thorough investigation into the status quo of family lives for cancer genomics researchers. These are simply end-of-one descriptions from a few people who were willing to give us a little peek into their lives. Family portraits, if you will.
My name is Hui Shen. I'm an assistant professor at Vandal Research Institute in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I do bioinformatics, DNA methylation data analysis.
Hui is in the throes of life with two very young kids.
2 years into my assistant professor appointment, I had a boy. This year, June, I had another addition to our family, a baby girl this time. So it was actually my own birthday.
Oh.
So, yeah. So it was really a birthday for me. You will miss when they're little, I feel that I will miss when they're just a little blob of meat. My boy was in daycare the entire winter. He was almost sick every single day, and I often have to cancel entire day's meeting just because I have to go home and stay with him. I don't like causing other people trouble, and I really, really hate to let people down. So I struggle a lot with feeling guilty, and I still do sometimes for not being able to meet everyone's expectation. Being a faculty is a very demanding job. So just within the work itself, there's already much anxiety, how you balance different kind of responsibilities, doing research and mentoring and teaching. There's just 1,000 things that we have to juggle every day. So that's just work alone. And then on top of that, you have kids in daycare, and they will call you saying, oh, your boy is having a fever and you have to come take him home. It's like you're on the battlefield every day.
In addition to just recently having a baby, Hui had another milestone the day before we talked.
I had my promotion review. My letters were all really good, and everyone agreed that I should be promoted. And then only one letter said that, oh, she has not been invited to meetings often enough. And as a matter of fact, I had to turn down about 10 meeting invitations, including 2 keynote speaker invitations. It's just because I can't travel with 2 kids. I really, really hate the terminology work-life balance, because whenever you talk about work-life balance, you think, okay, there's this ideal Zen zone when everything is perfect, and this status can be achieved. So it's there, and if you're not finding it, you're just not trying it hard enough. For a long time, I thought, okay, I need to find work-life balance, and it really brought a lot of anxiety to me. I think that it's more like work-life compromise and work-life conflict.
Hui struggled with this conflict for a long time.
It's hard for me to finally realize that you just can't be perfect in anything, and I'm constantly falling down on one side, I'm sure. Today I need to work more, and I can't spend as much time as I would like to with my children. And the other day I really want to attend an event at my children's daycare, and I have to cancel a meeting. It's just a constant compromise between the two. For me, after this long struggle, what's helpful for me is that you have to realize that it's just not possible to do everything. And just follow your heart, what's important to you, and try to make time for that. And things that fall through the crack, it probably just, had to make way for the more important things. What makes me able to go to sleep every night thinking, okay, so on the work side, I've been doing something useful today. And on the family side, I provided for my family and I spent time with my family members and we were happy together. And that's probably my idea of something close to success. Today, I can sleep even if I fail to do a lot of the things that I'm supposed to do. I can still sleep soundly. So that's quite a big change for me.
And by the way, Hui did get that promotion. You seem not too excited about it.
Well, it's just a title, right? Your life doesn't change. And probably as associate professor, there's more expected of you.
So what part of her work does Hui get excited about?
I see something that I know, the whole world, I'm the only person who knows this. This data is telling me this message that no one else is seeing at the moment. And that's actually the charming moment of doing research, that you discover something. That's the best part.
I asked Hui to tell me about what a typical day looks like.
I start when the children wake up. I'm not a morning person, so my husband is. It's helpful if one of the two is a morning person, and I can take the late night things, and he can help in the morning if I just can't get out of bed and the children are screaming. I pump, and then we take the bottles to daycare, and I have to label each bottle with name, date, volume, and all kinds of things. Get the two kids ready, teeth brushed, dressed, and everything. And our oldest one is now able to put shoes on himself, which is a big help. My husband or I drop them off at daycare and go to work, have meetings, try to fit in email and manuscript editing, grants in between meetings. And when I'm teaching, it's very stressful. I have to fit in classes and grading and all those kinds of things. At home, we really can't do much. We pick up the kids, we make dinner and feed them dinner, read books, shower and everything. And when both kids are off to bed, it's usually 10 p.m. And then we just have a little bit of me time. It's teamwork, right? You can't do it alone. I would certainly go insane if I have to deal with two kids just by myself. And we have to pitch in for each other all the time.
Hui mentioned milk and pumping and feeding, which can be a big source of stress for parents of infants.
Yeah, I hate that part as well. But it's still causing me stress. Like every night I was thinking, do I have pump supplies tomorrow, for take to work? And do I have bottles, nipples, and adapters to the pump? Milk causes a lot of stress. Whether they're using the bottles at daycare and why is she not eating? If she's sleeping for 3 hours, why are they not waking her up to feed her a bottle? I think I was having a bad day, and then I was pumping milk, and then I had about 5 ounces in the bottle, and suddenly it spilled.
Yeah.
And I just could not control myself anymore. I just started crying. I was crying so hard, and then my husband came and he said, "Don't cry over spilled milk." And that helped. We've been only talking about kids, but time with the partner is also something, that another thing in this life side of the work-life compromise that we were talking about. It's when you have a job and when you have children, those are both very demanding. And then sometimes it's easy to ignore the spouse. And it's one of the balls we have to juggle as well. I want to give you a hug.
We could digital hug.
Digital hug. Yeah, it's, the reason why I want to do this podcast is I really want to share this experience with people, that it's really okay to feel that you are not balanced, and it's normal to feel that you're struggling a little bit.
Maybe it should be work-life acceptance.
Yeah, work-life acceptance. I like that.
We have two boys, 11 years old and 14 years old.
This is Shirley Liu, who lives in Boston.
I'm a professor of biostatistics and computational biology at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. I'm also the director of the Functional Cancer Epigenetics Center at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. I'm also a faculty at the statistics department in the Harvard College.
So Shirley is pretty busy.
I met my husband when I was a PhD student at Stanford. He was working in the Silicon Valley, but we moved to Boston after I finished PhD. I got this faculty job right after PhD, and he was always hoping that we could move back to the Bay Area. But the opportunity here are just really exciting. So my husband sacrificed his career a little bit for me. So our boys grew up here.
Shirley had her first child soon after becoming a professor.
I didn't expect to get tenured here at Harvard because it's kind of a long process. Harvard only tenure full professors. So I didn't wait. I just okay, I'm here. I will do the work I want to do. I'll just have kids. And if I have to go to another university and not get tenure here, it's okay, which was kind of a lucky decision because, I didn't delay. But then turned out the work research-wise, everything worked out. So I did manage to get tenure here.
Life with older kids is different than life with babies and toddlers.
We right now has a baby. The kids could wake up anytime. They could cry. They could get sick, right? We still spend a lot of time with kids, but it's a different type of time. The time is better controlled. We can say, okay, for example, from 7 to 10, that's family time. We do spend a reasonable number of hours, but at least I can set the time. When my first son started violin, I started learning violin with him for 2 years. We practiced together every day, and he was so much better than me. And now both of them are so much better, so I only played the piano part for them. But that was really fun. It was nice to be able to play something together. So we are playing the Bach double violin concerto, and I'm playing the piano for them. I read that middle school years, parents have the biggest doubts of their parenting skills. I definitely struggled quite a bit. I think now it's getting better than 6th and 7th grade. When my older son started this middle school, he changed a violin teacher, he changed the school. It was kind of his preteen years. My husband's company got really busy, my work got really busy. So it was a very difficult transition. Both my husband and I realized that we were too busy for the kids.
And what they ended up changing wasn't really how much time they spent together, but rather how they spent their time together.
It's whether you put your full attention and whether you really listen to them or really kind of praise them. We try to have a little quality time every day, whether it's playing some games or cards or just talking to them. We say no electronics for that quality time. We do something together, playing ping pong, or we go hiking on the weekends or doing something together.
Shirley talks a lot about languages of love, this idea from a parenting book that there are some basic ways to express and receive love.
There's touch, word of affirmations, which is praise, gifts, service. For me, my love language is the service, act of service.
And she realized service wasn't what her boys really wanted.
If you cook for them, yeah, fine, that's great, but then that's not really high on their priority. My older son was probably praise. My younger son is touch.
So her boys' preferences has factored into how they spend time together.
You kind of do something together that they feel that are important for them.
And Shirley's typical day?
I don't have as set a schedule as I wish to have. I used to wake up much earlier. Now I feel like I'm old. I wake up at 7 or 7:30. Depends on, if my husband is traveling, I will need to get the kids to school. But if he is here, he sends the kids to school. I try to get some exercise in the morning, I run for 20, 30 minutes.
Then she takes some project meeting calls at home.
I usually just have my breakfast as we were meeting. Those project meetings finish around 10. Usually at 10 o'clock, I would have no traffic going to work, and I would drive to work and then try to get some writing done in the morning. And then in the afternoons, there are usually all sorts of meetings. Thesis committee, whatever other committee work, meeting with collaborators, consortium that have conference calls, or give a talk or seminar somewhere. Or if I have to work on a paper with a postdoc, we really need to sit down for a block of time. That also happens in the afternoon. Get another block of writing done. Now we have a babysitter. She's doing all the cooking, so thank God. So now I can go home at around 6:30. We have dinner with kids at 7:30 for 30, 40 minutes, and then we try to do cleanup together. And then we'll try to do this quality time thing. So yeah, sometimes play ping pong and some games. Recently we've been playing cards. Actually, I have every day at 10 o'clock, I have more meetings online. And we go to bed usually after 12 o'clock. It's now a lot better. I try to put in like 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I used to routinely sleep 5 hours a day, and that's not very good. Retrospectively, I think I could have been more productive not doing it.
Shirley has this infamous drink, which might be the secret to making her life run smoothly.
This mix of beans and vegetables and fruit stuff. I do that for both breakfast and lunch now. It looks kind of scary. Actually, now it's getting to be more watery. Because sometimes I'm so busy, I don't even have time to drink water. One of my colleagues is like, what is growing in there?
She might be too busy to drink water, but Shirley says,
it's really fun though, because sometimes when you make a breakthrough, there are a few of those moments I remember when we're like, wow, this is great. Then in those few weeks or like a few days, I would be kind of talking to the postdoc all the time, like, oh, really, we see this. How about that data? And then we kind of very quickly prune our hypothesis.
And her hopes for her kids?
If the kids, by the time they are in their 30s, they are passionately and working very hard towards something they love, then I think I would have, I am a successful parent. They didn't have to make as much money, but they have to be working very hard on something they love.
I am doing fine. Just kind of adjusting because our older daughter was here for break until Sunday and she left. And so it's taken me like the week to feel kind of, okay again.
You might remember Denise Wolf. We spoke to her in episode 2. She has 2 daughters who are in college.
When the nest first emptied, it's like a big deal. I mean, I know it's hard to imagine now, but once they are like teenagers and young adults, their faces are going to be the same and their characters are pretty much the same. They just are taller and do more things. So they're very recognizably themselves.
I asked Denise briefly about her thoughts on having a family and career in science.
I don't know that I really have great advice on that because, it seems like people do it in a variety of different ways. The way it's worked for me is, I have a career in science I really enjoy, but I don't work Fridays and I haven't chosen to run my own group. I've made some choices that make it easier for me to balance everything, partly out of just temperament that I'm happier doing this kind of thing. But for people who want to do jobs that require the 70 or 80 hours a week, then they're just really tired. I don't think there's anything magic. Other than what everyone says, which is make sure your partner is supportive and be alert to what you actually want to do. There's all these trade-offs. There are trade-offs within the career path, and there's trade-offs between family life and career. So just to be, aware of how those things interact and how they interact with your own psychology and temperament and energy level. Some people don't need very much sleep. They do great. Some people need a lot of sleep and get stressed out and anxious. They might need to scale something back. I think knowing yourself and accepting both your wonderful ambitions and your mental energy and all that, but also your limitations, I think is key. The whole model of the PI and not the PI, I actually work in an environment where that is less true and where it's team science for real. So everyone plays their part. It's like being in a band. And, we all write grant proposals together. We do work together. We share it all. And that's a good model for me.
Our final family portrait is actually of 2 researchers, a couple.
My name is Shoshana Levy. I am a professor here at Stanford University. I have a PhD. I'm in the Department of Medicine, Division of Oncology.
I'm Ron Levy. I'm a professor in the Department of Medicine, Division of Oncology. And I have an MD, not a PhD degree. And I work in the clinic with treating patients with lymphoma. Mainly, I work running a research laboratory, working on cancer immunology.
And how did you happen to meet?
I was a PhD student in Israel at the Weizmann Institute.
And I was a medical student at Stanford and had a period of time to work outside the university and worked at the Weizmann Institute. When I came to my mentor, I asked him, I'm from California, do they have surfing here? And he said, oh, yes, we do. Ask Shosh, she knows all about it. And that's how we met. It turns out they didn't have any surfing there at the time. He just made it up.
So you met and you hit it off. And then I guess eventually you decided to be together and move to California?
Yes.
Kind of.
It wasn't so straightforward.
Shosh and Ron have been together for over 50 years, so they've been through a lot. And naturally, some of what we talked about happened a long time ago.
Yeah, we have 3 daughters. The first one was born in 1968. She was born in Boston when Ron was an intern at the time.
And Shosh was a graduate student.
And I was a graduate, continuing my graduate student studies. The second one was born in 1970 when we were postdocs at the NIH. And the third one was born in 1973, just before the Yom Kippur War in Israel.
Did you guys have a strategy for having a child while still in school?
No strategy. We just wanted to have kids. We hoped that we can continue to work to make it happen. We were stupid enough at the time.
I wouldn't say stupid.
But we were naive.
Naive, yeah.
During this period of their lives, Shosh would drop off Ron at the hospital for his medical internship
At 6 a.m. in the morning.
and pick him up.
The next day, around 6 or 7 p.m., the days that he did come home, he was falling right asleep, and I had to wake him up to give him dinner because I wanted at least some company. That's my view of things. I had to call him Dr. Levy to wake him up.
She would turn on my beeper.
And luckily there was a person in the same building that we lived in who used to come down from her apartment in her nightgown and stay with our daughter.
Shosh's mentor actually first hired her as a technician. Then, when she returned after having a baby, she registered as a student and was credited for her work done as a technician.
It's extremely accommodating and flexible.
And how much time did Shosh take off after having her first baby?
I don't recall exactly, but probably a month or less. But things continue just the way they were before.
Shosh would go to work early after dropping off Ron at 6 a.m.
And by the time everybody else came to work at 9:30, she'd have completed
one first set of experiments, right, and I would start a second set.
And for Ron, who was doing 36-hour shifts,
he does not remember the first year of our daughter at all. At all.
Well, that's not exactly true, but it's pretty close to true. Her crib was next to our bed, and I can remember one time she was kind of looking at me as I woke up. The bars of the crib were between her and me, and I kind of moved my head so it's blocking, her direct vision. And then she would move her head to look through the slats. I distinctly remember that, and I realized that, oh, this person recognizes me. It was a 2-year period of time, a long time ago. Ever since then, it's never been hard.
With so many different phases of their lives and more than 50 years together, it's hard to ask Shosh and Ron to describe a typical day.
We're constantly working, but also playing a lot, too.
I'm trying to think. In different places, it was different.
Well, they would go to school in the morning. We'd go to work. And
then they'll have a babysitter or somebody coming. It was constantly trying to figure things out, or especially when a kid was sick. What do you do then? We'd come home, we have dinner. Many times we had to go back to work. We had to stop a jail running or do whatever, start an experiment. But you somehow work it out. You manage to do that.
In order to teach the kids something about probability and statistics, we had this kind of game we would play after dinner. 3 people would flip a coin. Odd person out got to choose which of the jobs after dinner, like washing the dishes or taking the garbage out, It was randomly assigned according to the coin flip. It was like not fair because maybe they would 3 times in a row, they'd have to do the same onerous job, not get the good job, but then it would even out over time. So that's just one little aspect of our family life.
Yeah, I remember Ron used to go, "Who is out of bed? Who brushed their teeth?" You know, some kind of, rather than, "Oh, you didn't brush your teeth yet," you know, just kind of trying to make it as much of a game, playful.
Ultimately, Shosh and Ron settled back down in California, where Ron became a professor at Stanford.
Was it difficult for you, Shosh, to find something also at Stanford?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For a while, I was a postdoc in a different lab, and then there was a position at SRI. It was called Stanford Research Institute at the time. It was nothing like being at Stanford. While I was there, we started collaborating, and then I decided to come and work together with Ron, and I worked as a research associate, later on a senior research associate.
These are non-faculty positions.
Not as a faculty.
And then finally,
I was promoted from a senior research scientist to a full professor. In a way, I felt it's very hard to explain, but at that point I was able to apply for grant on my own, and I felt it really had some rejuvenation effect on me. I really felt younger than my age because I felt that, oh, finally I can, I'm a PI.
From when Ron became a professor at Stanford to when Shosh became a professor, it was
almost 20 years.
Really? That long?
I was very frustrated. I was not the only one. There were many women at Stanford who were doing a very good job, very excellent scientists, and were not given the chance. I was not alone. And it turned out that it was not only women, because when we started kind of getting together, people who were senior research scientists, there were also a couple of men. But it was mostly women who were geographically restrained. Most of them had faculty spouses here, too. Mm-hmm. So it was frustrating, definitely. Concentrating on the science was the most important part.
And how did Ron feel about being the one to take the better job opportunity and set the constraints for Shosh?
I'm aware of that, and it was more of an expectation for me. I'm quite aware of the pressures that are on women with families and want to have careers, especially in science and medicine. It was expected of me, and it was there for me to take. I was good at it, succeeded at it. But because of Shosh's experience as the trailing spouse, if you want to call it that, I don't put the current women, I don't put them in that same situation. I like to treat them as equal opportunity to careers.
I'd like to add my point of view to that. I always felt that because Ron is an MD, the society had given him the opportunity to become a physician. And I thought that it's very important that he really serves society by being a physician. So I did not mind being the sidekick, and I strongly supported it. Even in Israel, I made him be a physician once a week. Ron wanted to abandon being a physician, and I encouraged him to keep on working as a physician. So he used to go 1 day a week.
Years ago, Shosh had encouraged or made Ron continue practicing medicine.
The word made is interesting because our kids like to say, why didn't you make me play soccer? Why didn't you make me be in the Brownies and show up at PTA meetings at my school? You were always too busy doing your lab meetings. So you think if I weren't an MD and I was a PhD scientist, it would have been different? You had a different view of me?
I don't know.
Lucky thing I got an MD.
Though Shosh earned her PI status more than 20 years ago, Shosh and Ron still very much work together.
If you look at the publications, they're not always together.
Yeah.
There are many,
Yeah.
and even to the present time. But there are separate ones, too.
Yeah.
That's the way we run the lab now. It's a joint lab with overlap, but some exclusive parts, too. We're share space, lab space, and offices down the hall from each other. We call it the mom and pop lab. But between ourselves, we call it that. We've always been pretty careful to be professional at work and not a couple so much, although we do have lunch every day together.
We constantly question each other.
Why are you doing that? Or, is that really worth it? Or you forgot that we already did that?
It sounds like a very special relationship to be able to work together, in your personal lives and also in your work lives.
Yeah, we're aware that it's pretty special and in some ways unique.
Shosh and Ron raised 3 children, built 2 careers in science, and have been through a lot, but they balked at describing their experience as hard.
It's hard to remember now.
No, but I think we had kids at a younger age.
At a younger
age than our daughters.
We had kids in our 20s. Daughters all had kids in their 30s.
Even 40s.
Perhaps, they suggest, they were too young to appreciate how hard it was.
You question more. The older you get, you question more. You wonder. You're not as naive, and you question yourself.
I asked everyone how having children might have affected their careers.
Of course, I can never be the scientist that I could be without family, and I could never be the good mom that I could have been, if I'm not working, and I could never be the good wife that I can be if I don't have to deal with the other things. Life is just constantly about dealing with different kinds of responsibilities and trying to make compromises.
So I would say raising my kids really helped me with managing my lab, because I think at Harvard, most of my students and postdocs are extremely motivated. They are so hardworking, and I sometimes take that for granted. But as a parent, you realize that kids are not naturally motivated. How do you motivate them to do the things that we think will be useful or helpful for them? From that, I realized, I should be more positive with my students or postdocs, which hopefully help with our work. When you praise them, you use very specific things. Don't just say good job. You say, thanks for taking this time and prepare this particular thing very well. I think, in terms of productivity, in terms of getting grants, we will be a little slower, but it will be sad for female students or postdocs to not think about going to an academic career simply because they are women.
Do you think having the baby affected either of your careers?
I don't think so. And it was kind of, that's the way you do it. You have a kid, but you keep on working. You have to learn how to possibly delegate some responsibilities and somehow make it work, if that's what you're interested in.
In those days, the burden fell mainly on the wives, and maybe even still today, but certainly then. And I was expected to show up to work no matter what. It didn't matter whether you had family obligations or not. The husbands are shouldering more of the burden than I did. We're talking 50 years ago here.
And some parting thoughts.
I think that the key is really that one has to find the way that fits him or herself best. It's not going to be the same for every single person. Just do what you can, and the rest, just try to relax about it.
I was trying to do a good job as a parent, but I didn't enjoy, I didn't make an effort to just enjoy being a parent. I knew I want to have kids. I knew I want to do my duty to them, in some sense. So I try to do the right things, but I think a lot of parents might all have similar issues. Their act of service is their love language, right? They clean, they cook, they arrange kids' activities, they drive around kids to those activities, but not enjoying it as much. Now that I think back, I could have enjoyed it more rather than working hard to be a good parent in some sense. That's actually my lesson. I think I didn't do a good enough job. I'm trying now a little harder.
Have dinner together every night.
And put away your cell phones.
And put away, that's the modern version. Put away your cell phone. Be present for everybody in the family.
In addition to dinner, just go skiing together, go hiking together.
What we call our 5-person family, which means Shoshin, me, and the 3 kids, has now become a 14-person family. We do things together, all 14 of us.
It sounds like you have a wonderful family.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yep.
It is true. Just wait till you hear your 2 kids start talking to each other. That's when the trouble starts.
So research is hard, and having a family is a very personal thing to describe. I'd like to thank everyone interviewed for this episode. Hui Shen, Shirley Liu, Denise Wolf, Shoshin Rong Levy, for sitting down and having very long, open conversations with me about this aspect of their lives. For more information about this and other episodes of Personal Genomics, visit our website at cancer.gov/personalgenomics. Questions or comments about this podcast? Want to share your own research story? Email us at nciinfo@nih.gov. Be sure to mention the Personal Genomics podcast. If you like the show and want to hear more, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review on iTunes. Personal Genomics is produced by me, Peggy Wong, under contract and with help from Center for Cancer Genomics staff. We are a production of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health, National Cancer Institute.